What is up, and welcome to Skill Diff, where we have not only differing skill sets, but vastly differing opinions. I'm your host, Dylan Sinnott, beside of my amazing guest, Pat. What'd you do over the weekend, brother?
I just played some video games, like as per usual, as I say every time. We love video games around here.
What games got you this weekend?
Oh, a little bit of Counter-Strike, a little bit of Baldur's Gate.
I even saw a little
Definitely
Rust
not another Gate game, that's for sure.
But I saw a little bit of Rust in
Oh,
there.
yeah, dude, I forgot. I did play Rust.
Pillaging some poor kids.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I love Rust.
Heck yeah. Well, today's show, we have a lot to cover. We're going to start off with LEC, secures the crown, determines a victor of the League of Legends Spring Split. And then moving on from that, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you a Counter-Strike team, and a pretty good one, or so we thought. And then last but not least, we'll be talking about Call of Duty has a competitor. Maybe it's real. You could have played it over this weekend. I don't think you did, though. But
Call of Duty? No, for sure not.
No, but this new competitor.
Are you're calling that a COD competitor?
Yeah, I think so. But we're going to first hop into Counter-Strike. First thing we want to talk about is money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you a whole lot of really expensive players, some crazy expensive skins, but it looked like it couldn't buy you a win for a minute. You worried about this Falcons team? You think they're going to make it out? You think they're still a playoff contender, or is this an injured bird?
No, I think that's a tough one, because if you had asked me this like a week ago, it'd been a completely different story. So it's funny to me because they did do two best of ones, obviously. Yeah. And best of ones can be more sketchy. Sure, you could throw some rounds, end up losing. But I digress. It was just very poor performances from most of the Falcons squads. Mondesi, I feel like, has not been on his game at all so far this whole tournament. And that's somebody that you did just pay a lot of money for. So it's somebody you expect to perform, which is crazy, which I feel like Magic's, of all people, has actually been performing better. He's been doing
the best.
Yeah, than the majority of his team. Yeah. Magic's and Nico, the two people that I typically are not performing as well and should do better, are the ones that are doing it. And what Kai Santesis and Mondesi are just falling a little bit under the radar. Because even after we get past the best of ones, we get to the BO3, and that even still looks sketchy.
Dropped the first map.
Yeah, like when I tuned in, because I tuned in a little bit late, they had already lost the first map, and I was like, what is going on? I was like, they're keeping up the trend of, like, they can't win first games apparently this stage, and that's going to hurt them moving forward, because stage 3 is only going to get a lot tougher if they make it.
Right.
I would like to hope that with the BO3s, they probably will secure it. I definitely foresee that happening 100%. But I think the way they've been playing now, stage 3 with these tougher competitors, Miles and Vitality and Spirit over there, it's definitely looking a little rough for them.
It's also pretty sketchy, too, because when you think about, other than the losers bracket, it honestly might play into their favor just a little bit, only on the fact of it lets you get bad games versus bad teams out. Because if in that O2 game, they had to play a FaZe, a 3D Max, or some of those other better than OG teams, like, dude, they probably go home. Like, that's probably the end of it. And, like, even right now, it's like they're going to hopefully win today. If they hopefully win today, then, again, you're probably going to be playing a very real team afterwards. You're playing an MIBR team today that I don't think looks the greatest. But then tomorrow, they could be playing a 3D Max. They could be playing a FaZe, as those guys play later today. And it's like, oh, that is scary, because those are some hard teams that are not easy to beat, and you're playing those for survival in stage 2. Those are teams we want to see them play in the bracket. And at this point, it looks like they might not even be getting there. And I agree. It's crazy you spend all that money, and then you look, to me, the big hype line and what Twitter's all up in arms about is the fact that currently Nico is playing with $1 million AK. Mondesi is playing with a $500,000 Op D-Lore skin. And it's like you're dripping with money at this point, and you look awful. It's like you have the most expensive roster probably in the game. You have, for sure, the most expensive inventory in the game, and you're dropping games to not big teams. And it's, I don't know. I'd be very concerned if I was Falcons. But again, with it being best of one, they could be the last team to qualify in, and then they could go in and smoke Vitality in a best of one, and we wouldn't be surprised. It makes no sense.
It does make no sense, and it is definitely a crazy tale from where they were at just earlier in the month in IM Dallas to where they are now.
Sure.
But that's why we got to give kudos to these other teams, which is moving on to our next subject, which is the teams that have been performing. Yep. The Cinderella story, as some would say, that have been going on with, like, Ty Lue. Legacy is a big one.
Yeah.
And the main question here is like, how do we feel? Do we think that they actually stand a chance? I mean, are they looking better than Falcons? FaZe?
I mean, to me, if I'm buying stock right now in Counter-Strike, and it's not skins because we don't need to get back into that, but if I'm buying stocks in teams right now, dude, Legacy is the hottest commodity there is. Just because they're an org that squeaked in. They barely got into this event. They went down 0-2, and in the map that they went down in they were at least 0-1 because they played the Warriors at one point. And in that map, they looked like the last team to get in. No chance of moving on. Maybe they'll squeak a win out and not be in everybody's predicted 0-3. They're one of the most predicted 0-3 teams. They make a run, make it to the next round. And then you start off, high throttle, high impact, game one, miracle upset, check. Moving on. Take down a dynasty level team, and then keep on going. They go to 3-0. In the end, they beat FaZe in a series to get elevated into the next stage. They're the first team to qualify, and they were one of the most picked 0-3s in Stage 1 and one of the most picked 0-3s in Stage 2. And, I mean, dude, they're rolling from the last team to get in to they might be one of the first teams in the bracket. This is like an unbelievable run, and that's just them. There's plenty of other great Cinderellas.
Yeah, I mean, so speaking of the others, like Lion has been doing like fantastic. And as you were saying, like they have completely ruined my pick'ems because of it. Yeah. I mean, in the first Stage 1 of pick'ems, it's like I had Legacy. And I think I might have had Lion. No, I had the FX, or that's who I had. Yeah. But then in the next one, I did have Lion, and they're 3, and here they are. Just keep this one. I mean, they beat Falcons. Sure, it's a best of 1, so we can argue that all day. But it's like, I still think you shouldn't be able in a best of 1 if you are this low-rated team to be able to perform that well. So it raises the question of, are they actually that low-rated of a team? Is Falcons actually that good?
Or bad?
Or bad, yeah. It's like what are we doing here? Are the teams in Stage 3 that much better? Because it shouldn't really seem that way. At the rate that it's going, Legacy and Lion, they could potentially take games off of the Stage 3 contenders like G2, for instance.
We could see a Legacy team go on to end Vitality's record run. Like, that's a crazy thing to me. And to me, it is true. It lends a lot of credence to the success of this format because, like, you're allowing 32 teams in, which is a whole lot of teams. And you would argue that, oh, why are we going to watch the bottom 20 through 32 teams? It's like, bro, right now, Team 32 and 31 have been knocking on the doors of teams arguably 3 and 4 in the whole league, which is crazy. And then on top of that, like, you get so many cool moments just because of the width of the event. And it's like, you get to watch these Cinderellas, and it's like, in the span of these past couple weeks, I think Legacy has gained more fans than probably any organization there is. Just because nobody knew who they were. Here they come in, and they're making this beautiful run. And then Lynn Vision, their interviews and everything are also insane. So all in all, it has been a beautiful, beautiful time. I think that brings us to kind of like putting a bow on, we're mostly through Stage 2 now, through Stage 1. What has been your biggest takeaways from this new format major so far? Got a lot of scrutiny coming in, but I think it's been net good, net bad. You want more of it? You want less of it?
I mean, it's like kind of like a double-edged thing because I like the fact that we get so much representation, so many teams to be able to compete and play and have their chance to compete against the top dogs, even if you are ranked like 50 in the Valve rankings. But at the same time, I also do not like best of 1s. I don't think they show potential of any team, so to say, because anybody can pull out some cheese and win, whether it's a strat that just happens to work on one map specifically and you get that map, and then so you take a W off of Vitality or off of the Falcons or FaZe or whoever. But the way they have it set up is where you do get to have that best of 3 at the end, which I think is nice. So that does kind of help weed out that, so you're able to do that. So I think that is a plus. And they're going through it pretty fast, too. I do like the fact that you do get a lot of streams at one time, and it's not a slow-moving thing. Because with this many teams, they could make this last a long time, but they are running through it.
Totally.
And that's either a love or you hate it type thing. And I think for the best of 1s, it does make it more exciting that way of, like, you just going match to match to match, 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 boom, 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 boom.
It's also, if I'm a player and you made it to this event, like, even for IEM Dallas, it's like simple. You got all the hype with FaZe and all that other nonsense, and it's like they kind of got knocked out of that pretty quick. And it's like, especially if you're a European team, you want to fly to America, spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get your players here, and then play for 2 days and go home. So it's like this is a long event, and there are teams that have lost and got eliminated pretty quickly within 3 days. And it's like that is unfortunate for sure. But having the amount of reps, like it makes the good teams feel like they got practice because like FaZe is a great example of a team that probably needs to warm up. They need to figure out a whole lot of stuff. But then you look at another side, you look at a team like Complexity, they're trying to figure out some stuff because they don't have Hallzerk, and boy, did that not pan out. America down. But it also leads to a lot of, I don't know, exciting moments in PR, and you get to meet a lot of new faces and see a lot of new players and stuff you've never seen before because it's like, we got to see G from Ty Lue with this whole ice cream saga, which has been like one of the coolest, most wholesome things. And then on top of that, you had a player, Amelia from Lin Vision, that in the interview with the Brazilian reporter that's went crazy viral. And then, now this person is basically a pseudo celebrity from a team that, and for all intents and purposes, is kind of insignificant in the grand scheme. But like seeing 32 teams here allows for those stories to take place over a couple days. And then, G and Ty Lue are still here. So like he got his ice cream, and it's like, you keep getting these like, little nuggets of nice little stories. So it's pretty good.
Where is our American representation?
So they're
This
home
is an
watching
American major.
Yeah, they're home watching.
Man, come on, where are they at? That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to move us on from Counter-Strike and move us on to the next segment, which is our Teardown. Yep. And this one is a little bit for the younger lads out there. It's about aura.
Yeah.
You got that aura. You know what aura is?
Well, maybe.
All
Still
right,
trying to figure it out.
It's that magical field around you that shows your power level, Anyway, it's about aura in esports and just video games in a way that it's like, does that make an esport more popular?
Totally.
Or more accessible or whatever? Is Counter-Strike cooler because it's got that aura? Like you said, the ice cream sagas, the simples, the toxicity, the storylines, whatever it may be. Does that create or does that make it more accessible to people or more enjoyable?
100%. And that's why I think this is like such a crucial topic at a crucial point in esports, because I think we're seeing some of the highest highs we've gotten in esports since the Fortnite era. And then in the gaming sphere as a whole, feels like it's kind of back to COVID. After COVID, we had a little bit of a high, then it depleted pretty heavily. And it feels like we're on a resurgence. But a lot of that does feel like it's really heavily driven by Counter-Strike. And there's at times not positive things about Counter-Strike, and there's times there's really positive things about Counter-Strike. But the one thing that Blast in particular does exceedingly well, and so do the other providers, PGL and ESL as well, is that they do a lot of media coverage so that the ice cream thing can happen, so that there's mics on Simple, and you maybe let him get the closest point of unhinged without being completely unhinged. And that gets people talking on the internet. And we live in a country where we have a president who arguably got the seat for any PR is good PR. And I don't disagree that there's negatives that come along with that. And, I don't hope that Counter-Strike doesn't get into terrible, nefarious dramas. And I'm not saying every esport should, but the PR associated with doing hype things and being hypey is net good. And to me, it's hard to succeed in the esports world without storylines, without people, without personalities. And that's the thing that really hurts like Riot Games. That's the thing that hurts a lot of other industries, is like you don't get those people, and that's hard.
Always we got to turn around and hate on the Riot somehow.
Yeah, a little bit.
You mean to tell me Riot don't got no aura?
No, I think there were moments in it, but you saw like they kind of depleted. You had Tyler One, who was arguably your biggest content creator, and then you basically banned him.
We're going back.
Yeah, but it's like that's the company you're dealing with here, which it's a weird vibe.
You think, okay, this is completely a little mini side topic within this. You don't think Tyler One should have been banned? Just as a quick question. Yay or nay?
If you care about popularity in your game, no.
Yay or nay?
I'd say no.
All right, no. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we'll leave that for another day.
Sure.
But I think Riot does they have aura, for sure. I mean, maybe they don't create it in the same way that, like, Counter-Strike does.
Sure.
Because that is more, well, one, since Riot's aura has to be done by themselves, as where Counter-Strike's aura is a team organization of, like, three,
well, yeah, it's
which
like,
does it.
Blast is making money from the aura that Counter-Strike is getting.
Exactly, yes, all those things. But, yeah, even, like, the ESL with the little videos, like parodies of the little movies, the little commercials. Like, I think that is really cool. I think if we're talking aura, I think that is something, but it can lead one or two ways.
Sure.
Those things could easily just turn out very cringy, and then it creates a negative impact on it. Like, kind of like when we were at DreamHack, right? And they were showing off their show, like the little Office parody that they were doing, and like the person in the audience just yells out, like boring, and like it's like then things like that might come off a little cringy, and it's like not as cool. But Counter-Strike definitely does have that aura because it does have so many different personalities and stuff within it. As to where something like Valorant, sure, it's a lot more smaller pool size, so you don't get as many of those moments that can really lend to that. As to where Valorant and Riot usually handle it in different ways through cinematics and things of those natures.
And it's an experience, but it's always, like you said, it feels like a Riot-driven experience. And that's what, like, if we want to throw this thing way back, you could argue that Halo is one of the fathers of esports, if you will. And there were some good moments, some good personalities. I mean, one of our own, Eli, is part of that. In the beginning, you kind of had that. But as soon as Call of Duty got the reins, it's like everyone talks about Nadeshot. Everyone still talks about 100 Thieves. Everyone still talks about this moment. But, like, as a person who played in that era with those people, Nadeshot was a really good player. But he was not an elite player. He was not one of the best in the world. When you think about that short list of 5 people that you fear every day, he wasn't that. But his name was bigger than all of them. And you could argue that COD is in its position today because he did the GB 100-0 challenge, and he tried really hard, and he did the content grind and worked with Optic Gaming to build that entity. And it's like, that is aura. He was a cool dude. And like, not to like hate on Nate or anything like that, but like, you have a kid that works at McDonald's that's a very average, scrawny, completely normal-looking suburban guy named Matt that is a insignificant, type of very normal human, and then it feels like overnight he's got Red Bull sponsorships, is driving sports cars and living in LA, dating YouTuber chicks, and it's like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, but when you want to talk about like what is aura in esports, it's like that made Call of Duty cool. Like that made it be like, hey, these aren't nerds in a basement doing some weird stuff. These are cool kids doing cool stuff, and that's where it's like Counter-Strike has evolved to a maybe more modern version of cool. And like at times Simple's antics and attitude are probably not great, but like, when you have the GOAT debate between Simple and ZywOo, it's like 10, 15 years from now, people are still going to be talking about Simple's nonsense. So people talk about him more, so it's easier to think about him. Even if ZywOo has statistically a better performance, you need the aura, and that's one of the things that I think hurts Riot. I think it hurts a lot of publishers and hurts a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think it's kind of like that double-edged thing of like, ZywOo will have the stats to back it up, and maybe he might not have the mouth to say the things, but it's one of those things. And for Valorant and Riot, yeah, sure, it is all the same, but we're going to keep this thing in the same realm, and we're going to move on. We're going to talk about League of Legends.
Totally.
Our first game of Riot here. We just had the LEC split finals. Our spring split finals happened over the weekend, and hey, that stage, right? That intros, dude, we're just talking about Riot not having aura.
100%.
That seemed like some pretty cool aura.
Yeah.
So what do we think about that?
First, you know what? I want to give the flowers to Riot. I give them a lot of hate. I'm probably their number one hater. But, dude, that stage was sick. It's also cool because, like, it feels like the casual and the competitive experience were actually like thought about and planned together for once. Because when they started doing these Noxian sagas and then now the Spirit Blossom saga, it's like that ties into the stage. The map obviously contextually makes sense. For those of you who don't know, currently Riot is basically kind of changing their map based on an era, I guess, if you will. The current one is Spirit Blossom, so the map's all nice and peaceful and has Spirit Blossom trees. So they did the stage to do the same, and it looked incredible. It was a really good experience overall. Like, there were still some, like, we're talking about Riot and cringe at times. Like, there still are a couple things that are like, man, we probably shouldn't do that. But overall, I think it was a really good experience. And then the gameplay, you had a really cool story. You had Movie Star Koi coming in. You had an American player playing in Europe. And it just was an exciting time. It was interesting to watch an American who has talked so much crap about European League of Legends, in the end being able to sneak and get the victory. And it is one of those to where I think the match was great for Movie Star Koi. Congrats to them. That's one of those moments where it's like, dude, you got to let them have it. You talk online, like you got to back it up in person and keep running the mouth. I think on the note of aura, it's like there was a little bit left to be desired from the player aura, but hey, Riot, you're doing a great job. It pains me to say that. This. I don't want to say that. I will say, I am sad we are not going to VCT Toronto. I'm actually sad, and I did not think I would feel this way.
I know that is it's kind of crazy. I mean, I feel like I'm hearing a different Dylan over here. It's like I think he's evolving. The more you watch Riot, the more you're getting invested in him, dude. That video you did is starting to sound a little untrue at this point.
But still got a way to go.
Yeah, the stage, it was dope. It was cool having the trees on stage. I think that was cool, and the lasers and the fog and having them come through the trees was a cool thing. Yeah. Like you said, sure, some of the players, I mean, these are League of Legends players and most esports players in general. I mean, they typically maybe not Call of Duty.
Hey.
Okay, they're the cool kids.
Yeah, I think Counter-Strike's pretty cool, to be honest.
Yeah, but like some of them aren't cool kids. They got a couple cool kids. Maybe simple, I guess. Whatever. We're getting sidetracked. But yeah, they come out and they don't really know how they interact and do these things and look cool. So they kind of come out looking a little stiff, a little anxious stuff. So it does hurt that a little bit.
They also make the players reach for the trophy. And
yeah, I know you didn't like that one, the 10 men reach for the trophy, and they're all kind of standing there like, what do I do?
Shoot in the back room. Yeah. We don't need that.
Make it a little embarrassed. But yeah, as far as the games were, I mean, it was a clean sweep pretty sure for them. So it's just kind of, in a sense, it's like, was more exciting, the game or the production? I mean, that really just depends on what type of person you are when it comes to watching esports. But League of Legends is going on a fantastic run here. I mean, obviously, we're building up and continuing forth that, and Riot is continuing to put more effort into their stuff. So I hope that moves on to their other game, Valorant.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that stuff it's continually getting better, and it's like Romain is a really cool dude for G2, which I really, really enjoy, and I think it makes it more exciting. But to your point, it wasn't the most exciting of a series. It wasn't the closest of games, and obviously, when we hail from the now LTA North, no longer LCS, it's hard to want to pull for some of the European teams. But hey, we had an American player over there, got the job done, and moved on. And what else could you ask for?
Exactly.
I think we could ask for a little bit more out of Valorant, though.
That seems a little harsh.
No, I'm just kidding. So we actually got Masters starting in Toronto. We got to see some good opening salvos. We saw Paper X come out looking pretty dominant. We also saw Sentinels coming out looking a little less dominant. And then we even had a little bit of haters saying we got a little West bias over here. What are your takeaways from this initial salvo in VCT?
All right, well, I'm gonna make a quick point here right out the bat. All right, I'm not trying to call out our commenters. We love all engagement here at GGN, okay? But I stand on business. Yeah, I do have a little bit of a Western bias. Obviously, I'm America. I want to pull for my American teams. Like that's like the whole point of having like a national pride in a sense. And I think the American teams are great. And we can argue that Sentinels maybe didn't look that good. And I would say that, yeah, their team comp for Split, I wasn't a big fan of. I wasn't a big fan of John Cutie on the Sky. I feel like we're taking it back to 2023. I think a KO probably would have sufficed a little bit better in this situation. And also, this was one of the issues I had with most of these teams going forward into Toronto was the Tejo nerfs.
Yeah.
Sentinels was one of the teams that was relying on Tejo. They just had John Cutie just play Tejo, and that was his role. And it's like, now how is he going to adapt to that? And sure, it looked a little sloppy, I guess, but like, I think they're doing perfectly fine. The Wolves did better than I thought they would. I don't think that was necessarily Sentinels' fault. Sure, they had a bad comp. Second map was a lot better. It was just that first one.
Do you think that it was more of Sentinels playing below the belt or the Wolves playing above the belt?
I think it's the Wolves playing a little bit above. We can then switch that over a little bit to the Paper X Heretics, where it's just like, I think Paper X was playing to their standard and maybe Heretics wasn't playing enough. Sure. But I think that's kudos to the APAC region because even the Gen G MIBR match was the APAC region is going insane right now in Valorant. And I think it's really going to be APAC and America is really where it's going to be at for Toronto.
Yeah, my problem with both of those specific matches, the last two you mentioned there, with Paper X versus Heretics and then MIBR Gen G, is that both of those games felt very hard to read the room because we talked about this a little bit off screen, but it's like, we come in, we talk about Paper X, and it's like, how they're going to do? What is it going to look like? Are they going to come out and be really, really good? Are they not? But then it was hard to determine, were they playing good or were Heretics just lost out there? Because to me, it looked more like Heretics were lost, and it's like, if you're playing a pickup game and you're a 5-stack, you should body the pickup team, and it kind of felt like that's what they were doing. Like, they didn't have to be tight with their plays. They didn't have to be tight with their executes because it's like they did what they wanted and they got away with it. And then it felt very similar, too, in the MIBR front. It's like you could argue that Ospas is got a whole bunch of rookies on his team and they're still trying to figure it out. And maybe it's maybe it's fortunate that they came this far, but like they looked also very lost and like they hadn't been there before. So it's, I don't know, that's where it's hard for me to read. It's one of those things of like, are they really that good and they make teams play like that? Or did we just happen to see a really bad Heretics and a really bad MIBR or just have bad days?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've been enjoying it overall, and I think that, like I said, I think APAC and the Americas regions are definitely looking like the two dominant regions going into this. But exciting news other than Riot is we got Call of Duty.
Thank God.
All right, but not the CDL. It's not champs time. We're not quite there yet. But we got a new announcement, and that is the next Call of Duty, Black Ops 7.
I thought it was going to be on a 3-year cycle.
Yeah, I guess not. We're going from Black Ops 6. Like, I guess everybody loves 6 so much. We're going straight to 7. And they gave us this cool trailer.
Who loves
I'm not going to lie.
Or who loves 6?
Who loves 6? I don't know, man. Probably not a lot, but the
Those
trailer
12 people
was
are gonna
cool. I'm just saying the campaign for this one might be dope. Multiplayer?
Sure.
I'm assuming it's still going to be Omni Movement. It's only been a year. Anyway,
no
I'm ranting here. What are your thoughts on Black Ops 7?
Is Black Ops 7 going to save COD competitive in the CDL? No, it's not. Honestly, it might be gas on a fire. And at this point,
We've seen no gameplay yet.
That's probably a victory. I do have the tiniest shred of hope. Everybody's been living in a land of nostalgia over the past couple weeks, and Drifter and some of the other guys in the COD community, they've been posting, like, for whatever reason, clips of, like, BO4 with wall running. And it's insane how slow wall running and jetpacks look compared to BO6's Omni movement. So I very much so fear that BO7 is going to be Omni movement plus jetpacks and wall running. And when I think about something that I'm not signing up for, it is that. But one thing that I would sign up for, though, is it looked like there was a Blackout 2 possible tease in there, maybe sunsetting Warzone. I enjoyed Blackout a little bit more than I enjoyed the initial state of Warzone. I can't imagine it with Omni movement and all this other fast stuff. But hopefully that's really, really cool. And I think it'll be exciting. Honestly, I'd be more excited for the zombies than anything competitive. COD just feels like it's in such a bad spot right now.
Now, to me, it's very interesting. I'm a little upset that we're going straight to Black Ops 7 from Black Ops 6. Look, Call of Duty doesn't get a lot of charm from me much anymore. But, like, one of the things was, it was like you got a different, at least it was a different era, so to say, of Call of Duty. Because you would get Infinity Wards, you would get Sledgehammers, you would get Treyarchs, and that cycle repeated. So you would have your Advanced Warfares, you would have your World War IIs, you would have your, Omni movement, jetpacks. There's there's so many, there's variety. As to where now we're just getting potentially just the same thing again in multiplayer terms. In single player, of course, we're going to get a whole different story and stuff like they're.
But this to me just feels like we need to quit this annual release nonsense and just go to DLC. Call it Black Ops. And then do DLC packs like you did for zombies. Because, to me, that's the weight of the story, right? Like, I think Call of Duty campaigns have been cool. They're 4 hours. Paying $80.
That was just Modern Warfare 3. Most of their Call of Duty are long.
5 to 6. But it's like paying $80 for that is like their sell is you're getting a new prestige, your new camos, new progression, blah, blah, blah. But it's like if the multiplayer and the movement, all that stuff's going to be net same. And, I think that a lot of pros, especially as we relate this back to esports and the CDL, I don't think they hate the game from a mechanic standpoint. They hate the maps pretty heavily. But it's like, to your point, we'll get stale. The difference in Black Ops 2 to Ghost was very significant. The difference in Ghost to AW with exosuits was insane. And then over the next couple of years, we got IW where we had maps where we floated through space. And then we went all the way to World War II in trench warfare with shotguns. And it's to your point, it's diversity, but it makes you at least interested to see what's going to be good. But more importantly, it lets Activision and the other studios be like, hey, they like this. They didn't like this. Let's go this way. Now, to be fair, I don't think they listen. So it's probably pretty irrelevant. Nope. I mean, they're selling armadillo skins for champs, for God's sake. I don't think that there's anything that we're going to do to really impress them at this point and make them change their opinion, other than not buy the game. And that's my advice. Don't buy the game.
Don't buy it. And I feel like that is a fantastic segue to move on to our favorite segment, Buy or Sell.
So the first thing that we're going to be buying or selling today, Pity Pat, Splitgate. Well, they announced last week. It's been kind of, I think it's technically considered an alpha beta at this point. But they're going to be dropping a BR, which they already have. One of us has played it and is undefeated, 2 for 2 in the BR. Just want to let everybody know that. The game is not that bad. It's kind of fun, to be honest. Do you think, buy or sell, that Splitgate will be same size or larger within a year?
So I'm buying it if I think it would be the same size or larger.
Yep. 365 days.
Sale. Not to be less. This game would die just like the first one did, unfortunately. I know you're a big lover of it right now for some reason because he thinks he's good. The game is mid. It always has been mid. The first one was mid. It's unfortunate, and they're just chasing trends. A BR, really? You're going to have your CEO come out and say, make FPS greats again, and I grew up on Halo, all this, and then you're going to drop a BR?
Dude, I will say, Halo had the funniest opportunity imaginable. If at the Xbox game thing yesterday, if they would have announced Halo BR just to, flip him the bird, dude, it would have been crazy. I'm buying this, though. I think it is going to have a slow burn upward. I'm assuming that their dev cost isn't that crazy. And I'm also assuming that this current state of the game is pre-content dump. Because it is one of those where I think it's going to be fun for a little while, but not a long while. So that is my only fear for it. But I'm going to buy it. I think right now it is fun. Having a controller in your hands and being good at a game, dude, it feels nice. Let me play
That's not a reason to hype up a game because you can play a controller.
Let me pub smash for once. I'm going to quickly do a bonus on that note, though, of games. And you're unprepared for this, have no research. We got a Fragpunk 150K Invitational. You think Fragpunk exists in a year from now? Same metrics, greater or smaller user base, greater user base buying. You're also selling that one?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm selling that one, too. I think Fragpunk does do a cool job, though, I think it's cool they separate their competitive and their fun modes, and they have cool gimmicky stuff. But dude, they had a 150K tournament. We could have won that.
Maybe, dude. I don't want to talk on the subject anymore. We got to move on. But it's these games all suffer from the so many video games, and they just don't stand out. They're mid. Unfortunate. Now, speaking of what may or may not be mid, is the new Xbox handheld, or I guess it's semi-new. It's a handheld that was already there, but now made for Xbox. The ROG Xbox Ally X and just regular Xbox Ally. We buying or selling this Xbox handheld mixed with Asus?
Sell. I think there's no chance that it beats the Steam Deck currently. A lot of stuff has to change. Xbox needs to work on their names. This is getting out of hand. Maybe it's Asus' problem. I'm not sure. I think it's cool. I think competition in this space is good. But the Steam Deck is just too optimized. Maybe there's an argument that Steam will integrate with Xbox in some capacity, so maybe that's your back-end hope here. But currently, I think the Steam Deck is just too good. It's too hard to compete with. I think having an Xbox-dedicated console is nice in that form factor because if you can dock it and it's competitive to a Series S, it might be a better purchase than an S. So it might actually help Xbox push units, but no chance it beats the Steam Deck, in my opinion.
Bye. I think it definitely can. I think this should be into your argument of the console things and everything that this is something that a person who plays on Xbox could look at and to potentially get for that compared to something that Steam Deck that of course only offers Steam. As where Xbox, it offers multiple things. It has its own little Windows things in it. So it's not just Xbox. It's also Battle.net. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to do Steam on it as well. There are going to be multiple things. Now, yes, the OLED screen and stuff from the Steam Deck is better than the screen on
I mean, it's more about the compatibility and how well. And if developers support it, awesome. If they don't,
they are. Well, at least all Xbox things will be supported because everything in their showcase will be compatible with the Ally. Yeah. Which was an interesting take because, I mean, they're going in on that buy anyway.
My asterisk on that is they did say that, but I'm curious if it's any of that xCloud streaming from a console nonsense or
I'm sure.
net native.
There's no way it's all net native.
I agree.
No way.
The next one that we want to hop into, speaking of Halo, Xbox, Microsoft, all of that, you got the Hayabusa skins coming back, okay? It's going to be in the shop. It got announced literally right before we filmed this. So we're not exactly sure the parameters to get this. My loose guess is you're going to be able to buy it. You might be able to do some
It's 2025. You're going to be able to buy it.
You're going to probably be able to get some challenges to maybe make it cheaper, discounted, or maybe there is a way you can get it free to play. Are you buying or selling? It's cool to bring back nostalgia and be able to pay for it as an adult. Now that you got adult money.
Sale. No. Well, no. If this is available for purchase, then it has completely ruined the Hayabusa name. And that sounds kind of elitist status for me. Like, you got to be able to earn this board just like I did back in 2007. But no, it's just like, this was a cool because you had to work for it. You had to do the challenges. It's the same with like Red Tiger and all that in Call of Duty. It's like, you had to earn that. And that's what this is. You have to earn it, not buy it. Buy it takes away the charm. Totally. It still is cool skin, though.
I'm selling this, and it's crazy that people like to imagine that at times Microsoft is for the consumer. To me, this feels like the least consumer thing. You're taking accomplishments and achievements and just pay to win in it. And it's not going to make it any better or anything like that, but I agree infinitely with what we're saying. I think that even in Fortnite, the one thing that kills me about that game, if you go to a crazy cool concert or do a world event in that, they should give you like pins on your skin, or like you should have things that are exclusive. Publishers, quit being afraid to do exclusive, limited things. It's going to make people more interested in your stuff. If you can't get the skin, if you're not good enough, sucks. Get better, bro. Like, it should never be $15 to look like you're good. Stupid.
And okay, and you mentioned Fortnite, and that's going to take us right into the next one. Jarvis banned a long time, feels like ages ago, banned off of Fortnite for using cheats and just uploading a YouTube video of him using cheats in public lobbies just for funsies. Fortnite said, or I guess Epic said, Hammer banned him. Finally, just now got unbanned. Justified. Buy, justified service. Sale, too harsh. How we feeling?
I'm buying this. It probably killed his career, to be honest.
And you're buying that?
And yeah, 100%. I think that stuff like this is like, I hate cheating in general. If you wanted to do that, play a game called Screen Cheat. There's a game. You just download it, play it, have fun screen cheating. To me, it makes no sense because, one, purchasing it helps the ecosystem of cheating, which is pretty stupid and don't want to have happen. And then two, you're dumb enough to upload a video on it. I'm surprised that YouTube and other platforms didn't do something about this in their capacity as well, because it's just insane. And it's like, we get into this world where it's like, there's a really dramatic example, but like, we get to the point where it's like, you got like Logan Paul going better until he's filming a dead dude in a forest somewhere. And it's like, that's crazy. And like, that's what it feels at times. It's like, we have to do crazy stuff. And like, this guy was like, oh, well, I need to make some YouTube views here, so let me do something crazy. Let me buy some cheating nonsense and go cheat. It's like, it's just dumb. It's a dumb decision by him, and it sucks.
I don't disagree. It's a dumb decision, but it's a sell for me because it's the same thing with the I Buy Power. Both of these are cheaters. One in a competitive environment, and the other just in a regular lobby. But both too harsh of a penalty. That did basically almost like pretty much ruin their career. For Counter-Strike, I mean, it did ruin pretty much every single one of their careers going forward as a competitive player, except for the one who got away, Skadood. But the punishment, a little bit too harsh. They deserve to be punishment. Not that hard, though.
To me, it's you got to make it impactful. And that's like, for example, we've not had a cheating scandal that hard in Counter-Strike since then. And
dude, a team literally just got banned for match fixing in Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
that was from last year.
Was it Cloud9?
No, it was not Cloud9.
That's a big org. That's a big org to be throwing.
Dude, I'm just saying. It's still going on.
Yeah. 100%. The next one that we want to hop into is Arc Raiders went into a little bit of a, I don't know, media frenzy is maybe the most politically correct way to say this. They had a countdown timer that counted down to June 6th. Everybody, seemingly most of the world, believed that was going to be the release of the game. Streamers thought this. We at the office thought this to the point where it's like, hey, we're probably going to be playing Arc Raiders this weekend. And, well, that wasn't the case. It's actually going to be in October. So they have clarified that. And they didn't want it to feel like a rug pull, but they seem how it kind of got out of hand. And I think the quote was, they read the room wrong. So are you buying or selling that this was just a grave misunderstanding, or you selling this and saying this was a little intentional? You know what you're doing.
This is a tough one because this is one of the ones where I actually do feel like I'm kind of on the fence. So I think I'm going to go with buy that it was a little of a misunderstanding from them because they didn't. It's not like they were saying that anything that was like leading that direction, but it's like you can also see it from the other side. but they literally just said the game was released sometime later this year in the previous tech test. And I think everybody just had a good time and was so excited that the next announcement of Arc Raiders we thought was going to be the game because the tech test played so good. It seemed ready to release, so it didn't seem too far-fetched for the game to come out. So I think it's just one of those things that's a little bit of both.
Sale, you were sipping the sauce, man. You got a little too into
Sipping the sauce.
Got a little too into it. Got that PR, living large, high on life, having a great time. Like you said, playtest went bang. There's no way that you don't know that streamers are talking about the release of your game being on a date and then be like, oh, well, we just read the room wrong. We didn't know that's what people thought. And it's like, no, bro.
That's
like,
why I said it's a little of both.
You're sipping the Kool-Aid, and it's like one of those things of like, you should have, I liked that game. It was fun. That play test was nice. Don't be X-Defiant, bro. Like, don't give me a playtest that's good and then make me wait 6 months for no additional features.
It's just October.
I know. I'm saying if it feels like X-Defiant. That's what I'm saying. It feels a good ways away. If in October the game is not have a ton more content and feel not like the playtest, not that the playtest was bad, just needs to have more, it's going to be X-Defiant. And you're killing your hype. If you would have said like 5 days before the 6th, hey, by the way, just know that the game isn't coming out, guys. We're just making an announcement. It's sure
no game company does that. No game company. No company goes out and says we're making an announcement at this day. By the way, the game's not coming out. We're just making an announcement. Nobody clarifies that. Yeah, no, but dude,
they're sitting there like, everybody is talking about us currently going to release our game this weekend. Let's just wait until that day.
All right, no, we're moving on. We're moving on. Gears of War. Hold up. Gears of War has a good history.
It does.
Obviously, there's a new Gears of War coming out next year, but for this year, we have another remake of the original.
E-Day.
Yeah, that's the new one. Yeah, that's the new one. But this one is the remake of the OG again for the second time. Anyway, it's going to be on PlayStation. Cool, whatever. Yeah. But the esports scene, do we think that buy or sell that the esports scene should come back for this game or maybe just for E-Day? Or
is it should or will? Are we buying the should or are we buying the will?
I think it will, just because that's how we are today. Esport will happen, but I think it's should it happen.
Yes. Still to this day, I've said it on this show before. I've said it to everyone in this office. I did not go to an event to manage a team in Mexico City for Gears of War, and I regret that decision. That's probably one of my very few, if any, regrets in life. That's up there. And that event seemed incredible, one of the coolest audiences, one of the coolest crowds. And for a game that does at times have really good, awesome moments, I don't think it's going to be a significant esport. I don't think it'll probably ever be a tier 1 esport, but it doesn't have to be. It can be beautiful. It can be small. And I think that's totally fine. But I think it should exist. There's a ton of non-American hype from the game, and it does feel like the controller world is dominated by Americans for whatever reason. So having non-American teams play in that, and maybe it becomes a little bit more of a worldwide game, also being on PlayStation should also help the non-American audience, because most of the rest of the world loves PlayStation more than Xbox. So yeah, I think it should. Now the will, I'll have a different answer.
I mean, me as bad as well. I'm a Gears of War lover and fan. Is one of my favorite franchises of all time. So obviously, I want that esport, and I think it should exist. Yes, it is a niche. Sure. It always has been a niche. Maybe this time, I think they failed in the previous times because they tried to throw a little too much money at it, realized that there's not any amount of return on that, and nobody's making hardly any money, so they need to just downscale it, more grassroots style. Like you said, yeah, the Mexico City and Mexico, they love Gears of War. They're big Gears of War fans down there, so that is awesome to see. And I think they should be able to be represented in that, whether it is only streamed to 10,000 to 20,000.
Yeah, I'm curious how they monetize it in the terms of to justify the esports side, because I feel like it's a very popular, like, split-screen, cool game for people, but it's like the skins and everything else. It's like, how do you make that feel good for the esports to be able to fund that endeavor? But either way, should be exciting. That's all we got for the show today. Anything you're looking forward to this week? You looking forward to your Stage 2 pick'ems being perfect?
Yeah, they definitely are not going to be perfect. I'm looking forward to, obviously, more Torontos. It's actually going on right now as we're recording, so we need to get out of here so I can go watch that match.
He's choosing that.
Sentinels, baby!
Austin, mate.
Boom!
What is this, malarkey?
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We will see you on the next one. Until then, peace out. It's been fun. Later.